I told you.
We are live. I'm Stefan PAZZO. Welcome to the show. We're going to chat with some of the old boys of Ultimate. And I've got one in the waiting room now, and hopefully a few are showing up as we go. Always some technical difficulties, but maybe not always, but every now and again trying to get people in from across the globe to show up. We sometimes do have our issues. So we are waiting, but I have one guest, and that is, you will find out very soon who it is. As I'm waiting, I'm just sending one quick message as we get going here. And otherwise, I would like to bring in my first guest. We may be jumping guests in and out, but first we have one of the legends of the game in Australia, one of the longest standing players that I know of. I believe he must be, but I'd like to welcome John Greenfield on to have a little bit of a chat about all things Ultimate and about the upcoming Australian National Championship. Greeny, as he's known, how are you today?
Really good, Pats. Good to join you and getting very excited.
Yeah, good news. We have, as you know, we've invited a few of your Aussie campaign teammates to join us. So we'll see if we do get to turn this into a group chat at some stage. But obviously, I'm very satisfied to be chatting with Greeny just the same. So let's kick things off and let our viewers know who you are. So John Greenfield is your name, nickname. As I've said, is Greeny. Anything else you get along the traps?
Well, I used to have long dreads, so I used to get called the leaping toilet brush, and once I cut those off, I got a number 1. So then I got called the scrubber. So
okay.
So that would be
the
my
leaping toilet brush and the scrubber. I've only known Greeny, so I'll stick with that.
It used to be
team
really
you're
good
playing
Pats.
with and. Your hair,
yeah, because
I
you could really get it
Greeny.
you could get into the face of the of your opponent on the mark. You know, it's like this. Until they brought in that terrible rule of crowding or whatever it is.
Yeah, horizontal space. I don't know, but you definitely, it's like you have a mark on your head as well with the extra width. Good news. Team and city.
So Newcastle I-beam.
Okay, how long has I-beam been around?
We started as a club in 2007, which ironically was the same year and the same tournament as Hoss, heads of state. And funny enough, we played each other, these inaugural clubs, in the very first game of 2007 Nationals, which was quite the event because they were very serious and we were very not. They all had their own, bags with their names on it. They ran around and with their warm up and did a team song, and we just sort of turned up, 10 minutes to go and have a throw, and we played. So, but it set the rivalry.
Okay, so the inaugural starts together, Haas and Newcastle. And do you remember who took that game? The casual approach, or this? You guys did take that, right? That's the Greeny. I feel like you remember every detail about anything that's ever crossed you in Ultimate Frisbee. We do have one more guest with us now, so we're going to let him in while I keep asking Greeny the questions. But I think I've got the man known as the GAC, Tom Regacki. So, Tommy, how are you?
Good, Rapazzo. So let me get my camera right. I had a bit of technology issues, but nice to join you.
Yeah, good to see. I will avoid any questions of the weather and get straight to the point here. I'm gonna keep Greeny on his little intro, and then we're gonna shift over to you. So, Greeny, age, how old are you?
52.
52, and still playing Div 1 Nets. This is unbelievable. Years playing?
28.
28 years playing, and last championship you've won?
2010.
With I-beam? Okay.
Yeah. At Adelaide.
At Adelaide. And take us back to 28 years ago. What do you remember about the first game of Ultimate you ever played?
Well, I think you know that I started in Antarctica actually. And then I lost the frisbee of the guys that I went down with who played, and so my penalty was I had to play with their club when I got back. But the first tournament I actually shared with this man here, Tom Rigacki. We both played the Melbourne Hat together, which was our first tournament, which was really memorable because I just saw this gangly 17-year-old who took the highest catch I've ever seen in my life, and still to this day, I reckon the highest catch. So high, he actually left cleat marks on the face of his opponent and came down and broke his arm.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, so that takes us back to the beginning and takes us back to a great segue to move over to Tommy here. So we'll start with you, Tommy. We know you name Tom Rigacki. Nicknames that you hear while you're playing Ultimate. What do you get?
Look, it's been Gack over the years from there, and it started actually. I think Greeny was there in 1998 or 96. Actually, I think we were training for Worlds, and Jim Garvey, the captain at the time. We had Tom Brennan, and there was Tom Rigacki, and you can't have two people named the same. So why do you need a nickname if you know Jim is big American, aggressive, and he turned around and just looked at me and said, "Gack." I think I like that, Gack. That's funny because it's like in America it means you drop it, and so he just coined Gack, and it stuck for a while. So it's been.
I feel like that's the only way I've known you, or definitely the first way I knew you. You were the myth as Gack before you were ever Tom Rigacki to me. Team City, where are you playing? What's your team? Just shout it out.
Yeah, so I live in Melbourne, Victoria, in Australia, and the club team. Since club started, we used to have state teams, but back in the day, with my good mate Canby, we started Chile Ultimate Clubs 21 years ago to the year, and we're still around today, fighting with 3 teams going to nationals. So 4 teams. I feel we got a women's team. Just forgot in the FAT team. So. I think we're probably one of the better represented clubs in terms of team numbers, 21 years on. So pretty proud of that, and some great people playing there these days.
The oldest club in Australia right now? Is it the longest running club team?
Yeah, by the name. I mean, I think Sydney and other teams have formed in different names, etc. But in terms of the same entity, same structure, I believe so. Yes.
Cool. Okay, Tommy. Then age and years playing for you. It sounds like 40, similar years playing.
Similarly to Jono, 44 is my age, not how many years playing. And
28.
Geez, you did a mate, yeah, probably around that, Jono. Yeah, so it's been a while. My sister's a couple of years older, and Jono mentioned she got into it at Melbourne Uni with Sylvan Brown for engineering, and a lot of people got into it at uni. And I was lucky enough to have an older sibling, so I got into it a little bit earlier. Around the days of the Dales, my two people that I've probably grown up playing with and against, and really fond of as competitors and mates.
Awesome. And you flashed up the 5 when Greeny was talking about that Melbourne hat. That was the 5th Melbourne hat, the 5th
I was like,
incarnation.
Yeah, no, just do I owe you $50 or $5? We usually owe each other money, but no, it was in reality it was hat 5, I think, and it's usually me owing Greeny money. But hat 5, I think, was that first one. Yeah, down at in Melbourne, very hard surface. There was another funny story. Doug Buxto, whose daughter now plays for Chile. She's Catherine. I think she's 16 this year. Really good. Doug's about 6'9". He was huge, and he fell over. Like, we laid out in very hot, hard surface, 40 degrees, and Andy Norman and a couple of the older boys spread a rumor at the party that he was so tall that when the ambulance came to get him, they couldn't close the back door, and he just went viral, and everyone went around, and that was the rumor that he was that big he couldn't close the ambulance door. So
I love it.
It's not a Catherine moment that I've had. I'll have to tell her one day.
And so was that was your first game or your first tournament? Was that Melbourne hat?
Yeah. That was the first tournament per se. Played a little bit of league in Melbourne with my sister and a team Skyscraper. Still have their jersey, which I wore to Jono's 50th. He had to wear an old jersey. That was my oldest from 94, nice. I think it was, Pats. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, okay, we're going to move right along here. We're eventually going to get to the upcoming nationals. But for now, I did ask you both to bring a Sharpie and a pen. Are you equipped, Gack?
Not a Sharpie, but I have a pen and paper, yes.
Okay, that'll do. So I'm going to give you guys a quick minute on the clock here. And I'm going to give you 3 sets of questions. First question is, give me the three names, top three women to ever don the green and gold as players. So all time, not current. Give me the best three. I thought we were gonna have four guests, and it would have been totally official with the unanimous kind of voting that we might have got. But even with the two, I think this can be official. This could end up being official if we have any similar names.
Okay, done. Do you want me to show that now or not?
Not quite yet, Greenie. Not quite yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you another two questions that are single name answers. So now let's talk present Div 1 Nats best male player. Who is your opinion best male player in the game right now in Australia?
Whoa,
Tough one. It's a big one, but it's good to get that insight. And of course the final question, I'll give it now, whether you've written down your name concretely or not, is the best female player in the game at this moment. And she may have been on your other list. Who knows? So give these guys a minute to work it out. And we'll see what we come up with. You guys let me know when you're all done. Otherwise, we'll, again, as I say, avoid any weather talk. I will let everybody know that I am in Amsterdam talking to these boys on the other side of the planet. I think the whole Frisbee world should have their focus in Australia right now. It seems like the only place there's any action happening. So good that we've got all the attention of the world. We got Chris Koo, who's happy to hear our voices. Not yours, Gak. You didn't get to mention, just Greenie and Steph. So you're gonna have to take that one up with him. I think he's an ex-Chile player, isn't he?
Mate, I'd see him at the recent tournaments. I have to have words to him, definitely.
Yeah, he hears too much of your voice, perhaps.
Maybe,
Anyways,
let's
start with Tommy on this. Top three women to don the green and gold. Tommy, what do you got for us?
Yeah, just all three or one at a time? Do you want to do it?
Let's go one at a time. I think my face just dropped out. It'll be coming back in a second.
That's okay. We'll join you. Well, I'll sing out then, Pat's. The top three, no particular order, but the first person that jumped at me was female by the name of Nicole Shepherd. She was an unbelievable player, won a men's nationals championship in a day playing with Ferrell. She won Women on the Verge in '99 World Clubs and Spirit in the same year. Unbelievable athlete, fierce competitor, had defensive intensity, just running machine, and had all the skills in the world. So clearly in my top three.
Yep. My first name I put down was Nicole Shepherd. So same reasons.
That's what you want to yell at free, Jono. We might have the same three for all we know. So that'll be controversial. But anyway. No, it's a shame there's not a lot of footage around Pats.
It's just you and me, Tommy. We'll carry the show.
He's back, I think.
Yeah, I'm still here. The cameras are getting changed around, but I'm hearing everything.
Gotcha. So yeah, it's a shame there's not a hell of a lot of footage of her. I mean, I think we're blessed these days. A lot more footage of Ultimate because she really, not surprised she was on Jono's list, which is all I named one. But Jono, any other words? But otherwise, I'll throw to you for number two, and I'll see if I've got this person on the list.
All right, let's hear it, Jono.
The second one was Sally Baston, the original.
Tell us about her. Give me. I haven't heard that name before. Tell me when she played or a little bit about her.
Feisty redhead, but razor sharp. She's actually a conveyancing lawyer, but rather than having that lawyer sort of seriousness, she was just the funniest person to be with. So as a human being, she's just brilliant. She kind of, just by her personality, I think I really grew to love Ultimate through just being around her in Sydney. As a player, she was kind of like a quarterback. She quarterbacked teams. She was on the original Australian women's team in 1990 and kept playing until 2004.
Oh, wow.
So her, longevity was outstanding. Her love of the game was unprecedented. and just her attitude to the game, her spirit was brilliant. She had a really good game sense, which made her a good quarterback. She knew where the pass, she could see 3 passes ahead. So that's who I had for number 2.
And can you just repeat her name one more time for me?
Sally Baston.
Sally Baston. Did she make your list, Gak?
She didn't. She certainly entered my mind when you think about names. Real fun person to hang out with too. And you think about why we all play Ultimate. It's a great community and one of the better people both on and off the field. And didn't make my top 3, unfortunately.
Give us your number 2 then.
My number 2 is a little bit selfish because I love playing with this person. So in a personal, but stood the test of time as well is Winky or Sarah Wentworth. Probably one of the fastest women I've ever seen play, and I think one of the things, speed is important in this game. Originally as a defender, as a receiver, can now absolutely throw and handle. I mean, I've played with her in that many international tournaments, had a lot of success from every time I've played with her, we seem to win something, and just love throwing to her. She just makes throwing look so easy because she just catches everything, but is very, very smart. And I also think about her in her younger days when she was playing for Australia through to playing, you talk to John and I, she stuck through it and threw 3 kids along the way as well. And that's not easy to do for women. As you know, we have our unbroken cycle. So when I think about her journey, what she's accomplished on the field, and again, a great person, she was there in my top 3 of all time. Awesome.
That's the first name that I think I recognize as a player that I've seen watch, and I certainly agree with your opinion there. Let's throw back to Greenie. Who's your number 3? Did you get a match with Gak there? Or you got a new name?
Sarah Wentworth.
Sarah Wentworth. Yeah. All right. So we've got 2 and 2 so far. Anything else you want to add about Winky as she goes, about Sarah Wentworth, before we go back to Gak's final name?
Well, coming back to why we love and play Ultimate, just the friendships that you can carry along the way. She's been a great friend for many years. And I just think the world of her. I think she's been a great ambassador for the sport.
Awesome. And let's go back to the big man, yeah. Tommy. Who do you got as your final name there?
I will name, just on a negative for Sarah, just married just a terrible fella in Sasha. She could have done a lot better. She was obviously settling, where Sasha was reaching, and I hope he's listening.
That's funny. I did just watch the semifinal of WGC 2012, and I just watched the first goal of that game go from Tom Regacki to Sasha Weidler. So I'm sure you're full of sarcasm there, but I do hope he's watching as well.
Absolute sarcasm. This will see how far your reach goes. Look, my third, or sorry, not third in any rank, just the third player I had in my top 3 list overall, and could easily be warranted anywhere in the top, is a current player and someone I think all our viewers will be familiar with, in Kat Phillips. I mean, both the Phillips sisters hit the scene and exceptional, but for longevity again. I mean, Kat, she's, currently, as we know, dual sport, contribute off the field, but just for absolute ability to play as a receiver, as a thrower, defender, running ability, what she's done for the game and overall, but just as an athlete, she's probably second to none in today's age. And I think equally as fierce on international circuits. She's, a lot of players are good domestically, and then they come up in international scenes and play against the strong North Americans. With Kat, there's no fear, and she's shown time and time again she can take it to the best of the world. So I think she absolutely deserves a mention in that top 3. No disrespect to the others, but she's in that list in my mind.
I don't have as much background in the earlier years, but from what I know, my limited slice of Australian Ultimate, she certainly stands out in that regard. So we'll flip past the boys and stay with the women then, because I have a feeling we may have a similar name pop up, and we'll go to Greenie first because of that. But best in the game right now for the ladies, Greenie, is that name showing up for you, or
Kat
have
Phillips.
You got another? Kat Phillips.
Yeah.
And again, anything to add on about Kat's game? Obviously, lots to say, and Tommy put it really well there. But anything else you want to sugarcoat with?
Well, I've known her a very long time. I remember she was coming up just as a teenager, and you could immediately see even back then that she, was just. I think it's in the family, to be honest. Her uncle was my boss at CSIRO. And everyone in that Phillips family is just exceptional in some way or another. And for the Mission Cat, they turned out to be excellent at ultimate. And Cat is just, she's just next level talent. I think she's got a fantastic moral grounding. She's innovative. She really cares and thinks about the game. You just can't go past that. And all the skills as well as the best current player. Yeah.
Well, I thought that was my easiest question, or the question that would be the most unanimous. We are missing Tommy's regular right-hand man, Stevie Campbell, and Tim Booth, the mongrel from Wollongong. We were expecting to get them both to compare these answers. We don't have them this time, but we do have some agreement for the top woman between the two of you. Go on, Tommy.
Well, not quite. I had a slightly different tilt on this because my one blight on Kat is in the summer season of late, and maybe I'm short term. She's not playing ultimate, so she hasn't been. She's a semi-professional athlete with St Kilda, so I haven't seen her play ultimate in a long time at the moment. So yes, she's in the top 3 overall, but she's not playing. I haven't seen her throw a disc in anger this summer because she's obviously playing footy. So I had a look at the current players outside of Kat who are playing COVID interrupted season that we've had. And I think about, again, selfishly, players I've played with love, Danny Alexander, Rosie Dawson, who's some unbelievable female athletic receivers, any one of Ellipsis women in Prentice, all of the really quality assembled teams there. But the person I'm going to shout out who I'm most impressed with, who was actually the most recent AUL season we played, who dominated on a return, is Diana Warman. Daisy could have got a mention in the top 3. Originally played in England, 6'5", I think, tall, throwing skills. And she just, last time I saw the women's game played nationally, she just absolutely anchored the Manly team offensively, couldn't be broken. And currently he's probably the best player out there. But that's, the challenge out there to Kat to take off her footy boots and put her Frisbee cleats back on.
Well, I did just chat with Kat the other day, and I know that her teammate was celebrating their elimination from the footy season. So she is back, but only just. So we'll see if she can shake the rust off quickly or not. Awesome. Okay, I think the more difficult division to pick the best current player is the men's division. In my head, there's a bunch of names swirling around. I think that was a division where both of your names popped up a whole bunch about a decade ago, maybe a little bit less. But there's a new crop coming through now, and there's a lot of names. Which ones? Let's say which one popped up, and then maybe you can elaborate if there was some close calls. Greenie, why don't you kick us off here?
Well, I had to resist the temptation because I know you'll be wanting me to put it down, was Tim Lavis. And I resisted the temptation for Lefty and Ryan Davies, who's also on my team, who I have the greatest respect for. But I've actually probably gone something a little bit controversial. I went with Mike Neal. Not that would be controversial, going back even a few years, and given that he was captain of Dingoes in 2016. But he's sort of taking a back seat recently, and I actually think he downplays himself. I actually think he's still the best player out there. He's got the experience now, but he's still incredibly athletic, very fast, and a really good read on the game. So I'm actually going with Mike Neal.
I love that pick. Love everything about Mike. He's one of the first Aussies I got to meet playing up in Brisbane, BPL. I still remember our team, the Dojo Mojo, had a 5-point lead in the final, and Mike Neal scored 4 of the next 6 goals, and I think he assisted the other one. And they went on an amazing run, which was horrible for me. But from that point on, I've always revered Mike as an exceptional, dominant player. So I definitely respect and agree with your opinion, Tommy. Who do you got?
I didn't go Mike, although very hard to argue with that, Greenie. And I think, again, part of this last sort of 18 months, Pats, you're sort of stuck in regions, so haven't been able to see as much of a men's. And again, you sort of go to the Victorian for me players who you know, and in my own club, I would give a shout out who wasn't my pick, James Osman, who's becoming a bit of a Mike Neal type, same height, and now it's funny when you get these tall players that learn how to throw, they become incredibly dangerous. And that's what Mike became as an out-and-out receiver. You mentioned the 5 catches, 1 assist. I think Patsy could easily do the reverse today with his ability. So, tall players that can do that. I look at the current Lipsis top line: Rob Andrews, Cupcake, Sam McGuckin, who's down here now. He's quality both ways. So any one of those boys are in the conversation as well. But I would also want to give a shout out to another guy who I think is, and didn't make my, but Gavin Moore, I think, is the best defender still, and that's credit to him, but a blight on the rest of Australia. But he's just got mongrel, and he still is the hardest guy to get away with in my mind in a lot of ways. And I think that's when you look to the players, they're all offensive tilted. I don't know about you, Greenie, but I thought about kids these days are learning to throw so early, but they're all about offense, and that's a lacking thing for my mind in Australian Ultimate is people that earn their stripes, and that's how I learned to play. It's earn your stripes playing defense. You don't come onto your first Australian team playing offensive handler, and that's different because people starting to play earlier. But that's the worry. I then got stuck. My last, I remember, Ashep. I want a huge shout out to Ashep. He's unbelievable athlete, can do both things, and probably the next best defender when I think about it. I saw him do amazing things with the Dingoes as well, and in Colony. So he was probably my runner-up in the end. But the guy that ultimately came to mind, I think about what he'd done for Colony and, again, influenced the AEL season playing with him for the first time, is Mark Evans. And that's who I went with. Mark's just a two-way player. He's so hard to stop upfield because he can go long and you have to respect it because he's good hops and fast, but also very dangerous with the disc. He's done it on mixed division. He's done it in men's division, and act as leader as well. So as I said, from that perspective, I know he lives and dies by the sword, and probably that's something that I share with him. So I know some people might say maybe does he turnovers, whatever, but hey, I respect that in him. He's happy to go for it and take it in his shoulders, and I'll take my hat off to him for current Klopp from what I've seen at the moment.
Yeah, death or glory in his style of play, but but Mark the Shark Evans, he's got a great pedigree in Australia. I don't know how many Colony titles he's got, what he did overseas with Colony, Dingoes, at least 2, but possibly three tours with the Dingoes. So love the pick, and I'm actually going to chat with Mark Evans tomorrow. So exciting to prompt him in like that. So I was going to I do want to get to some chat about teams coming out of this AUC. I was going to have a little bit of a chat about you guys playing together in your days. And so we will stick with that quickly. How many Aussie campaigns of the two of you guys played together? I know of 2, and I think I assessed that when I was expecting the 4 of you. When it was going to be Camby, Booth, Gak, Greenie, and I know the 2012 and 2014 Lego. Maybe there was others that all 4 of you have been on, but surely there's more that the 2 of you have been on together. Tell me about the ones that stand out or that you remember, or the shining moment, or the first green and gold. Go ahead, Gak.
I'm gonna go because there's one that stands out. And if you talk to anyone that was on this tour, and all 4 of us were on this tour, Pat, so you, Timmy, Camby, Greenie, and I, it's by far and away the best campaign Australia's ever had, which is the 2004 bronze medal winning Dingoes, and our tour of the US, and then on to Finland to collect bronze that year. Unlucky to lose to the Condors in the semis. Amazing. It's probably the first time that we've done a proper pre-tour. Like, we spent a good chunk of time in the US and beat most of the teams from back then to Furious George to Sockeye, Boston. I mean, we had a really strong lead up and really got battle hard and hell of a lot of good times, which I'm not sure what rating this is. I could tell you a few stories, but Pat, I don't want to have any complaints for your channel, but if you catch me at the fields, any of your viewers that want to catch Greenie at the fields will tell you what really happens on tour. But you talk to anyone, you'll know that the 04 tour was particularly important, except for the half a team in New York, Pats, where there was a night where, due to rain, Sasha broke his leg, it was called off, and the captain said, right, we got the night off, and half of us went to bed, the other half went on for an absolute epic night in Times Square. And for those of my 04 Dingoes that chose to go to bed, they missed out big time. So it was almost the best trip for them.
I had some feeling that you weren't one of the half that went to bed that night, Tommy. Awesome. Well, I will let you stop there, and I will encourage any of the viewers to get in the ears of Tommy if you see him around the fields and ask for more details on that trip. Greenie, I saw you doing a lot of nodding. There's certainly some agreement. Anything else that stands out about that one, or another notable campaign for the two of you or the four of you that's in your head now?
Well, just on that 04 campaign, I think it all started with the very first game of the tournament. And the lead up to that was that it was going to be the showcase game, the opening game in Turku in Finland, was going to be in our pool, and it was going to be US Finland. But they were worried that they were going to have a home loss to the US. So then it changed. So then they brought us in, okay, because Finland had never lost to us, ever. And so they brought the Dingoes in to play, to be the sacrificial lamb to go down to the home team. And we beat them 17-15 in a classic match where we just showed our true colours, and all of that work that we put in the pre-tour all came through. So, yeah, it was a special tour, a special team.
Yeah, the Scandinavians.
Who was the captain that year?
That was Potty, and vice captain was Chris Warris.
Okay. And go on, Tommy, about the Scandinavians.
I was just going to say the Scandinavians were particularly strong. People forget, like now they've, in the sort of early 2000s, that, Sweden, Finland are extremely good back in those days. And just to give you a taste, my first Worlds with Greenie, so talking about history, was 98 when I first went, and we were in Minnesota, and we played Finland 3 times, once at Worlds and twice in lead-up tournaments in Milwaukee. Lost to them all 3 times and solidly. So shows you the sort of progression. I know 6 years on, but, to have in front of your home stadium and a reasonable crowd for Ultimate too. There was a fairly good crowd there that day with great support from many Australians that were there. It was, we certainly had good support from the few Australian teams that were there, which is great, unique about our sport and when we travel together.
And unique about the Aussies too. They tend to make themselves very loud, no matter how big or small their numbers are. It's a very common sight with an Aussie crowd. They get loud and rambunctious, and it's always good energy received on the field. Who
Definitely
went to the final on the other side of the bracket? If you lost to the Condors or US in the semis, what was it, a Canada-US final in the end?
Sweden.
Sweden did go. So
Sweden, we played for bronze, and Canada, Canada was still, that was Furious George's era at that time. So in 04, it wasn't actually the US. Furious George was the dominant. They won Worlds multiple times. So you'd be happy with that, Pats. The Canadians were dominating Ultimate for a while, but it was one particular super team in the men's division. The women were dominating the women still, but Furious just attracted a unique crop of players. Andrew Lugsden, Mike Grant, probably if you talk to me, top 3 ever, Mike Grant would probably be number 1 on that list in my mind, with a few others. Wow. Mate, the list could go on in terms of that crop of players from Furious, and sort of from 98 when they surprised and won their first Worlds as a very young crop, upsetting Japan actually in 98 Worlds, right through to I think 08 when they won 3 Worlds in a row. So the 12 years they dominated the men's.
I definitely remember those days. I got to watch a fair bit of it, and I think I was there at the final in Vancouver, which was the last of their winning days. I guess that 08. So that's good.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just going to say one other thing unique, probably just with this crop. You're talking about the old boys, and we might be boring people to death. I did notice Daniel. I think it was a comment from one of you, Daniel, that mentioned Mark. I don't know if I'm going to mention. Yeah, he's also played college. We forget about that as well. He's accomplished over in the US. So that's an extra little reckoning just to show you why he's better than Mike Neal, Jono. Just why my recommendation is better than yours. But the unique thing about Greenie and I is, and with Tim and Cam, if I were here, is we've played in different divisions too, Pat. So one of the unique things, and we'll talk about it. Greenie's still doing Div 1. I'm doing Div 2 this year, but we've played Open, we've played Masters. It's great being able to choose what suits you at the time, if you like, for lack of a better word. So, I played my first Masters in Prague in 2010 and then went back and played World Games. So we sort of jump around with who you want to play with, where you can. And Greenie's certainly been part of most of those 20, however many years it's been.
Well, it's put a core together, the best core together that can chase a championship. No, what's our best chance to win this year, and then pick that division. I mean, you say Opens and Masters. You went back to mixed even with the Mondays in London.
Yep.
Was that your last mixed trip for a campaign? So
Yeah.
work the circuit, chase the medals. You got to get that gold. We got to get that gold. But let's go some hot takes on AUC here, and I will chat a little bit about Div 2 since you're heading that way, Tommy. I think it's one of the first years where there's multiple clubs with teams in both divisions. So you mentioned Chile's got men's, women's, plus D2. Haas has men's, women's. I imagine D2, Div 2 as well. Ellipsis has men's, women's. I think just Div 1. So there's, I think, for the first time, the potential for a double champion. And I think, based on the people I've talked to, Bella, Max, Liam, and Dom, I'm getting this opinion that a double ellipsis championship is got some high potential. What do you guys think about that? Do you see different? Let's talk champions in both divisions. Do you see that as having high potential, or is it going to shake out another way? Let's go Greeny.
Look, ellipsis. So I'd say it's going to be Colony Ellipsis final. Okay, unless we can snag it. But they surprised us. We played them at Canberra Cup, and what marked that game was their younger guys who'd been, they'd gone through 24s or whoever. They're really young. They've all stepped up, so they're all now just seasoned players. And really effective for Ellipsis. So they've really come together well. So I think Ellipsis are going to be very strong. They did lose out to Colony in the final of Canberra Cup. But that was their sort of first showing against that crew. They are definitely up there. Women's, I'm expecting Ellipsis to win. And I think they'll beat Manly in the final. So there's there.
And for the women, that would be their 5th in a row. They're on a 4-year winning streak if you take away the lost year of last year. And you keep saying Colony, but which is tough for me to not say as well. But they have changed their name to Sunder. I think they were so well established as Colony with the amount of interclub finals they featured in and how well they've done on the international stage, but they have switched it up for I guess political correctness as much as possible to become Sunder. Tommy, is it going to be an all Ellipsis, or is something going to be done about that?
Yeah, well, look, I think in the women's division, hard to look past Ellipsis. I mean, they're you mentioned about the number of teams they have. They just have a one women's team, right? So if you think, I mentioned Furious George, that was their model. If you want to play high ultimate, they just sucked up all the talent from their state or area or country in Canada's case. So with that model, you are aiming for titles. That's what they're about. So I can't see them losing the women's division with the talent they've got. But to your point, I think there's a couple, strong Sydney teams competitive there. I think men's, it's a very interesting one because the defending champion, correct me if I'm wrong, is actually Brisbane. So I'm not sure if it's the first time you haven't got the defending champion there. So that's a very unique set of circumstances, and a shout out to all the Queenslanders who unfortunately can't be at nationals. It's a unique situation in Australia, and I'm sure particularly defending a title would be fairly gut-wrenching. Having said that, it is a tough season. So I think the winner's going to come out of Sydney or Melbourne. I say that, sorry, not Sydney necessarily, Sydney, ACT, Newcastle as well, Jono. And I think you haven't been able to have, there's been the one Canberra Cup. It's been a lot more domestic competition. So it's toughened. And one thing that Sunder's got going for them is they've had the two teams. And whenever you talk to those players, they always like the idea that the reason they have two even teams is it's the hardest trainings they get. So I think that model may help them in this COVID-affected season to train hard regularly, where I imagine Jono would be hard for IBM to get hard regular games, for example. So they might be a bit more battle-hardened. Having said that, I certainly know and have watched Chile, Ellipsis and Haas all win on their day back here in Melbourne. Chile's a bit injury-affected. They haven't had a lot of cattle on the park this year. There's young people, Pats, they're just very soft these days. They get injured. They get hurt very easily. It didn't happen in our day, did it, Greenie? You play till play till they chop your leg off, basically. But anyway, different
dangling
crop
limbs
these days. Correct. And yeah, Lipsis obviously solid. You've spoken about them, and listen, Hoss still dangerous on their day. Nothing would hurt me more than Hoss winning a title, but they're capable of it. They're capable of it. So I think any one of those teams there. I'm going to go Colony for the battle-hardened
Sunder. You mean
ability? Sunder. Sorry, I'm going to go for Sunder. Just their battle-hardened ability to have been there, done that a few. But I do expect a New South Wales Victoria clash. I hope it's to that degree you see that evolve as well.
Awesome. Now, Gak, tell us about Div 2. Let's first tell us about your decision. This has got to be the first time you've not played in the Div 1 Nationals to play Div 2. Is that a fair statement or no?
No, it's unfair. I played Div 2 2 seasons ago. I went back to Div 1 and then COVID happened. So a lot of that was when we had Worlds in Australia. It was going to be Gold Coast. So John and I would have been playing for again. A lot of players were gearing up for the Netherlands Worlds, and then there was a Masters competition in Australia. So there was a lot of people, and I was playing Div 1 for just to sort of play at the highest possible level to get fit. And then when Worlds sort of was no longer feasible, Pats, I just decided to play with more my own age and my own sort of crop, if you like. And I also think it's great for when I see the Chile boys play, the Div 1 Chile boys, they just, they've got a different brand now. They're playing really good ultimate, and, styles do change. And I take my hat off to Greenie, who's able to evolve his game. I've sort of always been the same person when I'm on the field. It's hard to play. The game's played a bit differently when I'm on the field, Pats, for better or worse, I'll say that.
I understand exactly what you're saying. I think Greenie's got something to chime in on here.
Yeah. So, to help the boys develop, and for me to just have a bit of lifestyle, the Fat Chili guys, we're going for our 5th title in 5 years, or including a drawn one where it's possible. So the Chile legacy from the early days I spoke about lives on in the Div 2, and it's an interesting combination of young athletes up and coming who maybe can't quite make Div 1 teams, with a few of the older crops such as myself who maybe are past their prime. So it's an interesting mix there, and the best combination of young and old will probably win Div 2 would be my observation.
Well, that bodes well for you. Greenie, what did you were about to chime in there, but what did you have to say about that?
So I think we played Chile in Canberra Cup, and it was a good game. And what marked that day was a hurricane-like conditions, and it was during that period of just utter awful weather is when you need Gak, right? Because as Gak says, he's a gunslinger, he's a gambler. He doesn't know when to hold them. He'll throw them anyway. So I was telling the Chile guys, I bet you wanted Gak. They sort of said, well, what we want is to bring Gak in a box to each tournament, and if it's really bad conditions, bring him out of the box and get him to play the bad game. And then when it's good conditions, we put him back in the box. So
find a way to bottle him up. Just use them in extreme conditions.
It sounds more like the janitor cleaning up their shit, Greenie. To not sure who you spoke to. I'm gonna have to take that up with the boys, but I'll take that as a compliment. I think.
Awesome. And just a quick one to finish about Div 2. How many teams? I know that it's grown much bigger than Div 1 now. How many teams in each division we got going for Div 2 for you to come out on top of?
It's funny because the redraw of Brisbane came out. It's definitely because Div 1's capped at 12 or whatever it is, I think, these days. I think we had 16 in the men's. I have to really recount because of the Brisbane contingent. But there's definitely more teams because I guess there's no criteria to qualify, so to speak. So it is a little bit easier. I know there's a few good players. I know Wavy Dave, for those that know Dave O'Brien from Manly, had a shoulder injury. It's a shame he won't be there. I hear Jono Holmes is going to be there if you think about quality players playing for Canberra. We mentioned Sasha Vidlis. There's some great old quality talent and some great young up-and-coming kids who, as I said, maybe just haven't been playing long enough yet to break into those Div 1 teams. So, look, it's competitive. It's fun. We've only got the 3-day tournament, but it's really nice this year, Pats, that we get to go and play at the same location as Div 1, which is credit to Canberra putting it on. Personally, I'm going to stay on for Monday and watch the Div 1. It would be great to see the ultimate, and I'll be happy to be heckling there on the sideline as opposed to running around. I'm not sure I've got a day 4 in me these days.
Well, we'll be happy to see you one way or the other under the cameras. I know Alti TV is shooting AUC Div 1, and they've actually taken it upon themselves to shoot Div 2 as well. I think they'll have at least one field at Div 2. So we'll get some action. I'll get Mikey Palmer's here to make sure we get some chilly action on those Div 2 fields. And I look forward to watching both of you. I did just see before we end the call, I saw that this is the first time there has not been a defending champions going all the way back to 94. So you were right about that premonition of yours. But I'd just like to thank you guys again, taking some time out of your evenings in the lead up to the tournament. I think it's great to get insights going into a tournament, especially from two legends of the Australian game like yourselves. So Tommy, Greeny, thank you guys very much. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks, Pats, for the support on Alti TV. Tell Mike if he does tune in, we'll do a no look for him in one of the games. Just courtesy of you, Pats. We'll do a shout out to you in one of those games if they film us.
I'm going to hold.
We can get away with that in Div 2. Beautiful. You know I'm good for it.
I do know that much. And Greeny.
Awesome stuff. Thanks, Pats. Love your work.
Good.
Tom, I'm going to give you a quick call if that's all right.
All right. Well, thanks all you viewers. Make sure you tune in again. We got Mark Evans coming up tomorrow. And more than anything, like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff with Alti TV. Get on, watch the ultimate, support the broadcast, and we will be back with you very soon. Thank you for joining.